What's going on, Ambitious Vets? Welcome to episode number 67 of the Ambitious Vet Show with Marine Corps Commissioned Officer and founder of Active Duty Passive Income, Markian Sich. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet, where we believe if you desire more, you have to become more. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine Corps combat veteran turned passion-driven entrepreneur. On this show, I dive into the trenches with today's top military veteran thought leaders and subject matter experts who know what it takes to not only pay the bills after the military, but really make an impact. You're going to hear a great story, some failures, and even some golden grenades that are going to empower you to excel in what matters most in your life right now. Are you a veteran that has separated or retired from the military service in the past few years? Are you bored, unsatisfied, unfulfilled, wondering what's next now since you have stability? If you answered yes to one of these, I invite you to join our next virtual Ambitious Vet Sprint sponsored by First Command Financial Services. There, you're going to gain the tools, frameworks, and resources that pulled me off a wrestling mat back in 2014, now being a best-selling author and empowering thousands of veteran leaders internationally to execute on their next challenge in life. If you're ready to commit and gain the 7 tools for ambitious vets like yourself to restore your passion, live on purpose, and hear from 5 subject matter experts to keep you unstuck and in action in your life, we're now accepting applications. Simply visit vettrainingcoaching.com or click the link in the show notes below to apply. The program runs from October 23rd, 2019 to January 8th, 2020. Applications close on October 19th, 2019. We are only accepting 10 inside this program. And if you are ready to execute on what matters most in your life, well, I invite you to get there as soon as possible. Applications are pouring in and only 10 get accepted. We'll see if you're up to the challenge. Hope to see you in there. All right, Ambitious Vet, welcome to another episode of the Ambitious Vet Show. As always, I just want to thank you. If it wasn't for you listening to this right now, this show would not even be possible. So if you're listening in this is for you. And, I always request that if you are getting value in this, go in your favorite listener app and give us a rating, an honest rating, and, rate the podcast. So we're making sure we're reaching more ambitious vets just like you in the trenches looking to become more day in and day out. And if you got any constructive feedback, please email me directly at choffman@vettrainingcoaching.com. That email will be in the show notes below. But again, thank you. Who do we have on the show today? We got Markian Sich. He's a communication strategy and operations officer in the United States Marine Corps, currently stationed in New Orleans, Louisiana. Markian is a third-generation Ukrainian immigrant who learned about the opportunities that our great country provides its citizens from the good example set by his parents and grandparents. In addition to serving in the military, Markian started to pursue real estate investing as a method of securing his financial future soon after graduating the United States Naval Academy. His success inspired him to teach other members of the military about real estate investing. This is when the course and community Active Duty Passive Income was born. Ambitious Vet, I really enjoyed this one. Me and Markian Sich, we go way back, and also we go way deep inside of this interview. And he talks about the seed that was planted inside of his heart that had him while he was still turning and burning inside the Marine Corps, as intense as that branch can be, to actually launching this movement, and the 2 pillars that had him, start moving forward and had frameworks and left and right lateral limits that kept him moving forward. He talks about how to communicate your vision to your team, and the one tool that made the biggest difference in his growth from 2 to 3 team members to now 12, and now over 5,000 active members in their Facebook tribe. Without further ado, there's tons of golden grenades in here. Let's go ahead and dive into the trenches with Markian Sich. Markian, are you there, brother?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, brother. Welcome
Awesome.
to the Ambitious Vet Show.
Awesome. Thank you so much for bringing me on, for letting me speak to your audience. I love talking to people And thank you for pushing me and making sure that I came on the show. For anybody who's wondering, I'm literally just at the edge of the end of my PCS to New Orleans. I was at San Diego prior to this.
Wow. Yeah. And that's awesome, man. Cause we've kind of go back a little bit, man. We were connecting behind the scenes right whenever like this whole active duty passive income movement was just getting going and the ambitious vet tribe was just getting rocking and rolling. So man, I acknowledge you, man, for being able to manage everything that you manage as a active duty officer, being a father, being a husband, and really killing it as an ambitious active duty person in the uniform, man. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's not easy, but this is the most fun thing there is for me right now is basically having my own military where we all kind of like, we take what we learned in the actual armed forces and we're kind of bringing it together and making our own branch, so to speak, the ADPI branch. So it's fun.
Yeah, man, it's really taking off, man. I saw the announcement of over 5,000 members now. That's insane, brother. It's just taking off like wildflower. So, brother, if you would, man, can you just kind of share something that very little people may know about Markian Sich?
Yeah. So you alluded a little bit to it in the intro, but I am a third generation immigrant who was actually born 6 months prior to the fall of the Soviet Union in Ukraine and Western Ukraine, because my dad and mom were there with the first ever student exchange program to the former Soviet Union ever. They took a bunch of high school kids there. They grew up in the States, but their parents moved from Ukraine post-World War II and former Yugoslavia as well. And so for all intents and purposes, I kind of serendipitously ended up back in the country of my heritage, right? And I ended up being born there. I lived there till I was like 15 and a half. For the most part, my entire formative years were spent there. And so I've always had this very interesting experience of seeing both worlds, right? Like Ukraine, especially back when I was a kid, very, very different than the United States is. And even still, there's a huge difference. And so I tell everybody that I can't, it's hard sometimes for entrepreneurs to explain like, what is it, what's the gumption or what is it that's getting them where they're going or why are they doing what they're doing? There's not always a clear cut answer, but for me, I truly believe that it was one of the key elements was that I grew up there and I saw that difference. And for me, it was like, why is America so awesome? And I know that sounds crazy, but I used to come here every summer to visit my grandparents. And we would go to like Gatlinburg, to Dollywood, to Six Flags, to all these places and go to the roller coasters. And all the houses were so big and people owned their houses. Like it was just crazy. And I was just like, why is America so awesome? And so that was kind of, I think the seed was planted there. And I was trying to figure out like when I knew I was going to move back to the States eventually. My entire family repatriated eventually. I moved out here and lived with my grandparents during high school. But I was just like, man, I wanted to figure out what it was about America. So that's my little kind of like my weirdness, my little thing that I grew up there for all intents and purposes, came to the States is utter culture shock, not knowing what to think of high school and stuff, but kind of just tried to run with it because I knew there's something very special about America and how people, how people like make the best of being Americans. How do people, achieve that American dream, so to speak?
Yeah. And it sounds like you landed here and you haven't been looking back, man. Like you've really came in here and really adapted and overcoming, no pun intended, being, two Marines chit-chatting here, man.
Yeah.
You've really made it happen, man. It's inspiring for all of us, man, that are in the community, out in the trenches, just looking to become more day in and day out inside the trenches. So, brother, I mean, you're still in the uniform. You're a commissioned officer inside the United States Marine Corps, and you're building one of the biggest military real estate investment movements in the world right now. And like, I just want to ask you, brother, what lit that flame while you were still in the uniform to actually start building traction before you even take the uniform off?
Right. So I'm going to jump back just a little bit. So I actually did briefly kind of reach back, and I still kind of reach back a little bit. I apologize if you can hear the dog barking there. But it is because, so I actually married my wife. She's from Ukraine. And that dating period was one of the the key elements that kind of pushed me, I think. There was a lot of things that came through. There was this planted seed, like I was saying. Like I saw this big difference of this why is America so awesome compared to some other countries out there. And I wanted to visit my then girlfriend, right? When I was at flight school, and I barely had any time. I was making not bad. I was a second lieutenant, didn't have many expenses, but it still wasn't enough to go see her every 3 or 4 months and have a grand old time in Europe, because she actually was studying in France. And so I constantly was thinking to myself, like, what do I need to do to just make more money? Because I got so annoyed and it was so boring to just put, I would like have the Acorns app and have it round up a couple of pennies and throw it into the bank account all the time. And I was just like, slowly over a year, I remember pausing my Roth IRA contributions I needed to buy a ring, or just all these things. I was like, I was getting so annoyed. I was like, can I just make more money? Is that okay in the Marine Corps? Is that going to be frowned upon? There's a lot of questions going on in my head. I was like, how can I had a lot of entrepreneurial type stuff bubbling up already. Like me and my buddies, we came up with this app idea, and my brother, who's a total savant at app development, like full stack design, backend databases and iOS, Android, everything. And he just built us this app, and we were like, yes, this is awesome. We were talking to all these vets who are angel investors, and they were going to do all these, they're going to invest like $1 million in us. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be like a millionaire by the time I'm 25. Well, problem was, as soon as they found out that we were all active duty, we're about to go on trainings, exercises, deployments, what have you. They were like, nope. I was like, I need to make more money. And it's not because I need to, it's because I want to. I wanted to capitalize on what everybody's able to achieve here. What is it that's driving America so powerfully from a financial perspective? I wanted that, right? Because there was a need, and it was a romance need, right? I needed to go date my girlfriend. I needed to see her. And so that's where I just kept digging and digging and digging. And I stumbled upon a couple of books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and The 4-Hour Workweek. And the combination of those just, my brain exploded. I was like, I'm going to do something with these two things. These two books are going to be the two pillars that I stand on, and I'm going to go forwards with them. Started listening to every single podcast I could get my hands on, or my ears on, and so to answer your question, those I'm trying not to dive way too deep into my story, but that's what kind of launched me into that. It was that planted seed, and I also had a romantic necessity to figure out how to make more money.
Yeah, it's funny how that will intrinsically motivate us men sometimes whenever we want to we find something we really want, especially romance and stuff like that, and how it will drive us forward. And I think that a lot of ambitious vets are either listening to this on the podcast live or watching this on replay can relate to that. How many of you are actually waiting for permission to actually become more in your life right now? Right? Here's a prime example of someone that's still in the uniform, who's built a massive movement online while still being commissioned officer, probably leading tons of troops and being successful in the United States Marine Corps. And he's given himself permission to not only become more so he can actually go and, find his girlfriend, but, build a family, but ultimately drive a successful business that he can just kind of, jump right into right after the uniform jumps out of him. So, brother, what is the best, what would you say, not the best, but what is one of the biggest failures that you've had to deal with while trying to build this passion project while still being in the uniform?
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So I've had a couple of moments where I lost track and I lost focus, and it was mostly because of chasing shiny objects. And I know that sounds very cliche, and I read so many books and listened to so many podcasts, and they talked about that all the time. They're like, stay focused, stay focused, stay focused. And we still have trouble staying focused because now, I have a team where there's 12 of us now, and we're all entrepreneurial, and we're just we're hustling and bustling. It's like a beehive of just insane ambition. It's wild. And first of all, little golden nugget of mine. If you want to start a team and you're trying to figure out how to motivate them, and you guys might not be in the same state or even the same country, download the app called Voxer. Create a channel. This is better than Facebook Messenger, better than Slack. And Slack is good for organization. I use that too. But if you want people to hear your voice, this is the best thing ever. Like, you can talk and everybody's just like, it's like voicemail craziness. And anyways, back to your questions, is losing focus. See, I just lost focus there.
That's a great tool though.
Yeah, it is a great tool. Yeah. Because, I love communicating. That's why I became a communications officer just now. I used to be a pilot. This fitted me better. And I love it when people can hear my voice. I can talk on the fly. And so I had to use that to my advantage. And I got this app. And when we started talking and you could hear my voice and I could hear their voice, it exploded our business. And so there were times when people would come and they would offer, hey, we're going to explode your business and we're going to do this. We're going to get you 15,000 members and you're going to get, and all you have to do is like, help me with this. And then I'll see that you care. And then we'll build. And I'm like, oh yeah. Like, and it would just sidetrack me. And I think it was partly because there was a slight lack of confidence that I could do it on my own or that our team could do it on our own. Whereas in reality, every single time I went back and we focused on us as us figuring it out, and often we would bring somebody else onto the team, or we would create a key strategic partnership. But for the most part, focusing on making sure we care, we produced the solutions, we made it happen, and focusing on that, always going back to that turned out to be the best option every single time. And it was awesome to see us internally figure things out on our own and succeed.
What did that do for you as a leader that was sparking this movement? Did that allow you to build confidence, trust in your own abilities? Like, what did that do for you?
It was a huge confidence boost, especially, and here's the cool thing. What every entrepreneur wants, I think deep down inside, there's a lot of things we want, but deep down inside, there's one thing we always dream about is showing people that we could do it. Right. And it's, it's like, flicking somebody the birds, like, I told you so, or whatever it is that you want it. Like, especially sometimes it's family members. That's the toughest part, is when you don't get the support you want from your family members. And so when you see those people that, kind of wanted you to do it a certain way, and they wanted you to partner with them in a certain way, and then you could tell that they didn't believe that you guys are going to be able to do it on your own, or they didn't trust you or whatever. And then you just show them that, hey, we just did it, or we're doing it. And now people are, worrying about other things that we're doing, because they're like, holy cow, we're doing it better than somebody else. And, that is the best moment. And so it also gave me confidence in talking about my vision. And I used to think, this is one of my biggest struggles, is that when people, I hated all these terms like, oh, you're a visionary. Cause I felt like, I felt icky. I was like, I don't want to call myself that. Right. I'm not a visionary. But all that means is that in our team dynamic, that I'm just painting the picture for everybody. That's all it means. So that everybody can just be like, oh, wait, that's where we're headed. Cool. And whenever there's an internal conflict that I don't have time to communicate with, they could just resolve it, because they'll be like, they'll just point at the picture. We're like, wait, we're headed that way. You're kind of going that way. Oh yeah, you're right. And everybody's going. And I think the confidence there was that I realized, like, I just have to stick to the vision, and my key, the most powerful thing I can do for my team is just constantly painting that vision and communicating it to everybody in the most successful way. And, it's cliche. Everybody's like, don't tell your people what to do, tell them what you want to do. And then they'll, I think that's the Patton quote, and they'll amaze you with the results. And like, it's so true. And even saying that, I still feel icky saying my people, or like us. Like, for me, we're just a team. And I know probably one of the biggest struggles an entrepreneur has is thinking, oh, if I'm part of a team, I'm not the CEO, or I'm not the CFO, then I'm not really an entrepreneur. I'm just like somebody in the mix. Well, it's not totally not true. It's like the entrepreneurship is like this organic being, and everybody just falls into their roles, and it's totally okay if you're like, the crazy awesome like business systems and content person. You just need a runway, and you're going to be an entrepreneur on that runway. And also sometimes those roles just kind of happen, not because maybe that person was the best person for the job, but just because chronologically I was always the person. I was the one who just like, flipped the switch, said, hey, this is what we're doing. And I just had to stay in that role. Otherwise I'd confuse people. So I have to be the one painting the vision, or I'm going to confuse people. They're like, wait, we need to follow what you were saying. So sorry, I'm going on a tangent there, but that was the biggest thing, is it gave me confidence to just continue trusting that I can paint this vision and it'll be good.
Yeah. Markian, man, that's amazing, man. Because I remember like 2 years ago when we were sitting on the phone, you did a passion driven tip 2 years ago in your car, in your uniform, inside this tribe. So any ambitious vet that's inside of our Facebook group, go into the archives and watch that. That was a great passion driven tip. Led by Markian here. And, you were not this clear 2 years ago. And it's just amazing to see how confident, centered, and how fast this has grown. I mean, I was going to wait till this interview to tell you live on the podcast, but I was in Denver coming back from the Military Infantry Conference in DC this year. And there was a woman sitting at the bar wearing an active duty passive income shirt. I was just like, that's when you've made it.
That's awesome. Goodness, I wonder who that was. That's really cool, man.
It's amazing, brother. So I wanted to wait till this interview to say that. But one cool thing, man, that I caught through just being around your guys' Facebook group and stuff like that. So if you're an ambitious vet and you're not inside their Facebook group over 5,000 members, learning the basics, the ABCs of what it takes to actually build passive income out of the uniform and inside of it, I invite you guys on there. But there's this really cool thing that you said in a post where you believe, or the movement believes, that every service member or mil spouse becomes more effective at their duty to our country when they have a path to financial freedom and have a passion for serving America by owning as much of America as possible. That is amazing. That goes back to you saying, hey, I just want to see why America is so great, and I want to own as much of it as possible. So can you kind of lead off of that, but also tell us more about active duty passive income and where you guys are going with this thing?
Yeah. So there's so much I want to say about that. So I'm going to just go back a little bit and talk about a lot of you guys are probably still thinking, how are you why am I morally or ethically okay with running a business while in the Marine Corps? And it is because I want to be the best version of myself, right? And I'm not saying that to be like, oh, like, look at me. But if I don't have an identity outside of the Marine Corps, I can't be the best version of myself. I need to have another identity. I need to have another passion. That's why we have so many homeless vets, so many, vets taking their lives, because they leave the confines and the track, the yellow brick road of the military, and boom. That's just me based off of what I'm seeing, but there's we talk about this with our team all the time. We actually started a Zoom call that's just very personal called ADPI Helps, and it's just like, hey, just talking it through. But my point is I think that you can be a better service member if you're financially secure. And the reason is, and this is just based off of my own personal experience, these are not actual stats, but I feel like every Marine that has a problem, of all the Marines in the Marine Corps that have a problem, half of them have problems because of finances. The other half is because of relationship problems. It's either finance problems or relationship problems, like 50-50. Those that have relationship problems, they are rooted, half of them, in finance problems. So in reality, 75% of the Marine Corps' problems are finances. And I don't know if that's about the other services, but that's just what I kind of like, I've gathered. And so I'm like, you know what? The Marine Corps has like this, the Marine Corps has an agenda, and the military has an agenda, and that agenda does not entail making you wealthy outside the Marine Corps because they're worried that you're going to leave. And so I'm trying to flip that upside down and be like, no, what if you are not patronized? What if you are not told day one, don't buy things on your credit card? What if you're told do whatever you want, achieve the most you can in America, but just be smart, educate yourself, right? Learn about the greatest cornerstone of American financial like success, and that's real estate. I believe that the cornerstone of American wealth is real estate. And so when that switch, went off in my head, I was like, I need to focus on real estate. No matter what my side hustle, no matter what my W-2, no matter what my, if I'm still active duty reserve, retired, whatever, mill spouse, I should focus my finances around real estate, because that is what will truly build generational wealth and passive income. It's not going to be a passive process. Don't let anybody tell you that I'm preaching that real estate is passive. What I'm saying is you can build systems just like any business, and you can make it passive. You can create generational passive wealth. And so, again, I stand firmly behind what I believe, and that is that you can be a better military officer even when you can actually be a better military officer if you have a side hustle. And if that is, whatever it is, I recommend having it be rooted in some kind of strategy with real estate. So there you go. That's the whole picture. And kind of like the new thing I've been saying nowadays is, your service doesn't have to end after the military, and neither does your income. Right? So if you think about that, you can start building. You don't have to just save money away into a nest egg and then slowly chip away at it after you're 60, in hopes that it'll last you till the end of your days. You can create these streams of income. You can use our VA benefits. You can get your foot in the door. You can start networking and really just buy as much of America as possible, because it's so much better than just saving money.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And you're doing this through all kinds of avenues, man. I saw blogging, educational courses, podcasting. You guys got a book out that's Amazon bestseller. I picked it up, took a picture of it, about 6 months ago or so. And I've dove into this a little bit because me and Maggie are actually looking at real estate investing in the next couple of years as we continue to build the ambitious movement. Yeah. And, you guys are just completely legit, and how you guys can break it down Barney style for us Marines, and other people to understand, man, is really awesome, man, because it can be an intimidating thing when you're building something else. Right. So it's for you guys to comprehend it as well as you guys have, and been able to spit it out in small chunks for people to be like, okay, here's the next step. Here's the next step. And, I'm sure you guys do this inside of your mentorship program as well. It's just absolutely amazing what you're doing. So Markian, how can people go and find out more about what you guys are doing, and get connected with this huge movement that you guys are building globally?
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head with the Facebook group. Our goal is to hit 10,000 members by the end of the year, actually. So just if you type in, I think it's facebook.com/military or /group/military real estate investing. You'll hit up our Facebook group. You can also just type in active duty passive income into Google. You'll find us. You'll find links to our Facebook group. Promise you can be on our email list, and just it'll give you a little bit more about my story. If you want to listen to our podcast, we've got a messenger bot that'll give you reminders if you want that. We've got all sorts of ways to connect. My email, I'll just throw it out there, is my first name, Markian, M-A-R-K. It's like Mark and Ian smushed together. And then at activedutypassiveincome.com. If you guys have a story of yourself, like house hacking, maybe even inadvertently, or buying a property and it turned out to be a cool experience, you want to write your story, we'll publish it. We'll bring you on the podcast if you have a cool story. I gave you my email. You have our website and Facebook group. Just hit us up. We're all in there. You can just write a post and tag me in it. I'll respond. So
it's incredible. I love it. So we have a tradition here, Markian, 3 golden grenades, right? What would be 3 golden grenades you would drop in right now inside this tribe, this podcast, that could make immediate impact in any veteran that's looking to become more in life, career, business?
Okay, cool. One is, I would say, I'm trying to remember what Christopher Coker called it. I think he called it the positive mental feedback loop. Because my first ever podcast I was on his show, and I told him how the one thing that kind of helps me keep going is something that helped me keep going back when I was in college. Like I'd start calculus 2, and I'd be like, holy cow, I don't understand anything. Just literally just like smoke and mirrors the whole way. And then I ended up getting an A on the test. And so I was like, so every single time I do something that I have no idea how to get to the finish line, I remind myself of a previous time where it was the same thing. And I crushed it just by taking one step at a time, one bite at a time. And so basically remind yourselves, if you ever feel like you're lacking motivation or ambition, remind yourself and keep it in your pocket, or write it down every day, a couple of successes that you didn't know how to get to that success and like that finish line, but you did it anyways just by pushing forwards. So remind yourself of that time and tell yourself this time is no different. You can do it. So kind of that positive mental feedback loop. Every single new endeavor you take, you think back to the last one, how, yep, didn't know anything, but I got to the end. So I don't know, that it helps me a lot. Let me think. Another one, I think it's very important for everybody to learn what their financial freedom number is. And there's many ways to calculate it depending on what assets you invest in. But for real estate, what we do is we basically figure out what is the typical type of property that I'm going to buy and how much is it going to make after principal, taxes, insurance, interest, maintenance, vacancies, reserves, right? So call it PITI, PMMV. And so all those things, once you take all of that away from the rent you're collecting, what is left over? And so let's say it's $300. Okay, so how many $300 streams do you need to hit your financial freedom number? So you basically take the last 3 months of your expenses, like, sit down, look at your bank statements, look at the last 3 months. Let's say it's an average of $5,000 of what you've been spending. Boom, just multiply it by 50%. Your financial freedom number to be comfortable is about $7,500. Now work that backwards and realize how many properties do you need, or how many websites, or whatever it is that your asset is that you're good at building. I hope some of it's real estate, right? And just figure that out, because then once you reverse engineer that, it'll be easier to take those steps. So that's my second nugget or grenade. And third would be spend time selflessly educating your team. So for me, I every single little thing I learn, I just pour that time and attention into my team members. And I hate talking in this way because I feel like I'm like, oh, look at me. I'm just being honest. Like this what I've found out has worked the best for me is I just spend time on team members, because I see a lot of people struggling, and to me, fortunately, it comes naturally, like just building a team. I love it. But a lot of people are like, how do you trust people? And I think I just put my heart on the table, man. I'm like, here, I make myself vulnerable. I give them everything, it's like, take it or leave it. Hurt me, bye. Don't hurt me. You're a part of the family. You know what I mean? So educate, give everything to the team.
That's awesome, brother. And it's paid the way. And like, I think it's shown that your trust, your leadership skills, your communication skills, and your way of like just having team members stay aligned with your vision and kind of where this whole movement's going is showing on how fast this movement is growing. So Markian, I just want to thank you, man, for your time, brother. You're in the middle of probably New Orleans somewhere, in an Airbnb with your family, and we're hearing dogs, we've been hearing birds, brother, but
sorry about that.
You've been truly, just an example of what a Marine is, man, adapting and overcoming. And thank you for bringing in your golden grenades. You're absolutely amazing.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you, everybody that's listening. Hit me up whenever you want.
Well, there you have it, Ambitious Vet, episode number 67 of the Ambitious Vet Show with active duty passive income founder Markian Sich. If you are ready to discover your strengths and uncover the obstacles that are preventing you from living a life of restored passion, purpose, and clarity, just get your shit done. Simply go to vettrainingcoaching.com and apply for the upcoming Ambitious Vet Sprint to equip you with the tools and frameworks needed to excel in what matters most in your life right now. If you haven't already, go rate, subscribe, and review the podcast. Feedback is what allows anything to improve in life, career, or business, and we want to improve in the trenches right beside you. So let's meet in the middle and let's get better together. Sound good? Lastly, if you're listening to this, we already know that you're warrior made. But to become passion-driven, utilize this one golden grenade you heard today, and I promise you, your life will be soon be more meaningful, fulfilling, and passion-driven. Let's go get it.